can't get put out less than 5 minutes from the gate.
Yeah. It's like
You're gonna call it.
yeah, exactly. Like the refs have you pay like they had Dennis Rodman pay. Like Dennis Rodman could do the simplest thing, but they had to call it because they know if they let him get away with it, he's gonna just keep going up. The same thing with Draymond. Like if you know they're looking at you, they are waiting for you to do something ridiculous. What was the last thing he did? He choked somebody else or elbowed somebody else?
He elbowed
I mean, I
Lucius
think
Nurkic.
that did he get ejected like 2 minutes into a game?
That was this no last week. Yeah, he got ejected less than 5 minutes in the game. Bro, y'all trying to at least make it a different players. Come on, you better be lucky that you won. But like,
I mean, Curry's reaction every time he sees it from Draymond,
he's done.
he's down with the noise of
He's
Draymond.
done. He's done with Draymond. I would be too. Less than 5 minutes in the game. At least make it to the second half of the game.
Make it the halftime.
Make it the halftime. Get put out. Get it put out. You get put out in the third.
Hey, Jerome,
At the end.
I got it
I sent it to you. Can you put the logo on? Can you put the logo on it?
on
The slide?
well, I won't be able. Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
No, because like for some reason when we download PowerPoint to this computer, it doesn't pop up unless we create the PowerPoint on the computer. It's weird. Look, I'll show it to you right now.
Darwin, you got one?
I want to what?
For
See?
you for tonight. A paper for the night.
And nothing's wrong with your PowerPoint. I have no idea. I think it's probably because we don't have the license for it. So, but we could use it.
Oh, I need to
But I
send
think I
my
can still put a logo up there, just not just through remix. I can put a logo up there.
Yeah, it's missing
What
on
just
the
happened?
slide. Yeah, we just happened.
Like that's how I think we should know MVP though. I agree.
So what happened up here? Where did
It
it go?
just, I don't know, it just came down for like no reason.
Were you able to open it?
Yeah, I want to get it up there first before I start messing with that. I really don't want to have to close this.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
1 Peter 4:7-11. And those are all on the sheets, guys. Derwin, Romans 12:11. And Dimitri, I want you to read Mark 10:45. Mark 10:45. That's all right. You could do it. You can multitask. You're good. Right where they normally are every night. Yeah, they're always there every night. It doesn't matter. So as we talk about this, right? You know, as Christian leaders, as Christians, period. If you're not serving, if you don't intend to serve, you need to ask God. First of all, if you're not into service, you need to rethink what you're doing here. Secondly, you need to talk to the Lord and ask Him to help you to regain a level of understanding as to His calling for your life. It's very, very important that we do this. And I say that to say because a lot of us get into it for all the wrong reasons. Let me read to you guys a bad example of service. A bad example of service. And this is at the king's level, where he's going to stop serving his people and pursue his own gains. And what it cost him. Okay, it's 2 Chronicles 22, 1-9. Then the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his place. For the raiders who came with the Arabians into the had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. Ahaziah was 42 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. 1 year. Okay? His mother's name was Athaliah. Athaliah, and the granddaughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of, you guys say Ahab, it's Ahab, for his mother advised him to do wickedly. Therefore, he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father, to his destruction. Okay? He also followed their advice. He went with Jehoram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. Then he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds which he had received at Ramah when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. And Azariah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to Jehoram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. His going to Joram was God's occasion for Ahaziah's downfall. For when he arrived, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu, the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it happened when Jehu was executed judgment on the house of Ahab, on the princes of Judah, and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers who served Ahaziah, then killed them. Then he searched for Ahaziah, and they caught him. He was hiding in Samaria, and they brought him to Jehu. When they had killed him, they buried him because they said, "He is the son of Jehoshaphat. He sought the Lord with all his heart." So the house of Ahaziah had no one to assume power over the kingdom. Guys, this is very important that we understand this. As servants, we have to have the servant heart. We have to. If you guys are looking at this sheet, you should remember this, because back in 2019, this was one of the first lessons we did on servant. Okay, now I've refined it. I've got a little more punches in it. So I've refined it a little bit, but it's the same, but it's not the same. So, but again, I tell you this, as leaders, if you are here, forget leaders. Let's take the leaders stuff out of it. As a Christian, if you are here, and there's all the scriptures that we'll read tonight, bless you, that we'll read tonight will justify the reason why you should serve. Why, as a Christian, you need to be in service. Why we need to put others before ourselves. And we're going to quantify that, because some of us think that's the radical perspective of allowing ourselves to be doormats. No. Far be it from what we're trying to convey here tonight. And again, I'm facilitating this conversation, so I need your input. I need you to share your thoughts, your ideas on this, but also I need you to start thinking, okay? We just saw a bad example of Ahaziah, right? He was in pursuit of power and prestige, but in God's economy, it's for the pursuit of love and service to others. This dude, he wanted to improve wealth and status of the leader, of himself, because that's why he partnered with a guy who did wickedness in the sight of God, a guy who was known for doing wickedness. And Darren, look how God works. He even used one of their enemies, a more wicked person than them, who didn't like them. And you're going to mask yourself as a Christian. You're going to mask yourself as a heathen and go down there and you're a hardcore Christian, and you're in the club, and you try, no, Jamie ain't offbeat. Jamie's standing by the pole and trying to get ready, thinking about herself. I know, guys, she's standing by the pole, provoking the luck that she has none, because God has called her to do something, and look at what she did. I got to bring it into a vernacular, because that Ahaziah and Jehu and Samaria and all and Syria and all that, we don't get that. But when I bring it, that Jamie's standing by the pole there by the club, hey, that's relative. You can relate to that. Now here's the deal. He used the same people who were against all of them to come and kill this group of people. And Jamie just happened to be there. So she's in the crossfire of this drive-by. And she gets waxed. What did we used to say? You had no business there? We would use those terms. Especially when we're talking to our kids. You had no business there. You're right. You had no business there. You did not. And the business you should have been dealing with was that of the Lord. But you're out of place. You're out of mind. You're out of context. You're out of the Word of God. You're just out. And you're presenting yourself as something that you're not for all the wrong reasons, guys. So, I just gave you the bad example of somebody who refused as a leader, who refused to serve their people. So, from the human economy, we see others as enemies and competitors. From God's side, we see others as brothers whom we compliment, or who compliment us. And not compliment as in, hey, brother, you look good today. No. I compliment you in the faith. I encourage you. I build you up. I want you to do better. And so that's God's economy. The world's economy is like, man, I can't trust Krista, man. Because you know what she did? Oh, by the way, you know when she did it? In high school. In high school, she did it. And I'm holding it against her. So I'm not being genuine because I'm looking for excuses and ways to do what I want to do rather than to serve God the way God has intended me to be obedient to His will. Y'all some holy people, man. I did this. Okay? So I had to be convicted of this and not to be that way. So in our world economy, the motive is to remove or to kill the opposition. We do that. But in God's economy, the motive is to meet the needs and to grow the cause. The purpose, the plan for each and every one of us. As I started out here, if we are Christians and we don't have the notion to serve, I think we need to rethink this. I think we really need to rethink this. And you need to get into prayer and ask God, Lord, what is the call on my life? Guys, some of us are really called to sit on that bench back there and do nothing. Because God knows if we mess with it, we will damage it. We will not do it any service. So He's got to sit us down until such time as we open our hearts and we're submissive to His will for the purposes and the plans that He has for us. So, from the human economy, the result, the leader is glorified. From God's perspective, the Lord God is glorified. Too many times we miss this, and we miss it from the perspective of not trying to do God's will, because serving means, one, at times getting out of your comfort zone. But service is also work. Work. Again, y'all some holy folks. Derwin, sometimes I get lazy. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. When I came here, I said, I've got 16 of these things I got to put together. I'd already counted them off. I said, I'm going to keep them all to a minimum so that I can do no more than 2 hours on any given one of them. I was already trying to trick some of these things because that's the human mind. I'm not trying to cut a corner, but I'm trying to find the most efficient and feasible way for me to do this. But that's not what God calls us to do, guys. With the level of commitment and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, about the apportioning of God's Spirit in us, of faith, that measure of faith, as well as that measure of the Spirit upon us, that we would be strengthened, we would be enabled, we can and will do God's bidding, provided we're open with a submissive heart. So with that said, we're going to look at 4 areas, and there's a lot more. I'm just going to look at 4 tonight. Appointed leaders, shared leadership, serving the Lord, commitment to serve, a willingness. Why are we serving? How to serve? What are our intentions and our actions? You know, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Is this is this for Mike's gratification here, or am I trying to impart something on you here, the audience, who can then take this back and apply this across your life, your actions, your intentions, whatever you're doing? So I've got to put myself in check many times to make sure that this is not any Mikeisms. It has nothing to do with me, but to God be the glory. And ultimately selfless. And selfless is probably by far the hardest one. Selfless is by far the hardest one. Because we're all want to be selfish. One way or the other. We all want to be selfish. So with that said, let's start with Numbers 27, 16, and 20. Just go ahead and read.
So it says, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation.
Can you use the mic, please? Oh, okay. I didn't see you. My bad.
Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun with you, a man whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Set him before Eleazar the priest and before the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight. And you shall give some of your authority to him, that the congregations of the children of Israel may be obedient.
Amen. So that's the appointed leader. It's a shared leadership. Shared leadership. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. A lot of us don't like to give any authority if we have it. Guys, did Moses want to do this? Of course he did not. He didn't have any intentions in doing it. I'm going to die trying. He had no intentions during his father said, idiot, get with the program. You can't do this. You can't do this. And then we went through a whole lesson on the whole characteristics where he told them what to look for in these people. But in this one, he says, hey, you got to be blessed of God. Appoint someone over this community. Okay? So that's the shared leadership, the appointment piece. Someone to go out and come in before the people, meaning I will have the respect of them. They will know me. I will come out and I will go in amongst them. They have a familiarity with me. God forbid something happens and they bring a stranger in here. Y'all holy church people, y'all will form a committee quickly. And God only knows what happens next. That's how we are. That's human nature. That's human nature. Bishop was sharing with me one of the religions, I'm not going to speak, one of the denominations, I'm not going to say which one it is. When you're named pastor, you come in and your label is interim pastor until you pass your probationary period and you're accepted by the congregation. You've been named pastor already. You've been named a pastor already, and you still have to go through that. Man, I don't know what kind of appointment is that, Mac. They're going to appoint you, but tether you to the door. So at any given point, we're going to pull you out. Really? So as we go through this, we're going to hear some other aspects of this. So, of course, the person is blessed of God. You appoint them, they come in and out. One who will lead them out and bring them in, guided by the Lord. Not somebody who's in this for their own personal gain. No, guided by the Lord. Somebody who is willing to serve, who will step aside and lead. And oh, by the way, as we all know this, in order for us to be a good leader, what should we be able to do first? There you go. We got to be able to follow. But Colleen, sometimes we get too big for our britches. And we get up there and we forget the followership part of this. And we don't do so well because we just want, sharsh. That's us. Sharsh. We want to do it. You look at me. Sharsh. That's us. We chuckle, we laugh. That is us. Here, stop. No, God's in charge. At any given time, you smite us. Poof, done. Stop. Don't do it. There's people's salvation at stake here when you're leading them, when you're guiding them. Okay? And that's why you're guided by the Lord. And in this other bullet, I put a man. It's stated in the scriptures, a man. I put a man/woman in whom the spirit of leadership, spirit-filled, that you lay your hand on them. Spirit-filled. There's a lot of us that walk around here with some spirits in us. They're called Hennessy, Irk and Jerks, Boone's Farm, and the likes. Some of us carry these spirits. Some of them are lingering spirits. But it's not spirit-filled, guys. And this is what gets us into problems when we step out. Again, did Moses want to do this? No, he did not. His father-in-law had to get on him. Dude, what do you think you're doing? Get with the program. This is how we get this right. And you're not doing so well at it right now. How many of us in Sharsh were not willing to share that responsibility? We don't. And if we do, and things are happening, Michelle, we want all the credit. We want the credit. No. That's why it's shared leadership. That's why it's shared leadership. Have you guys ever been in a situation where you have a project, you have a mission, you have an objective to achieve? You cannot do it on your own. You have to now, what's that D word? We got to delegate responsibilities. But then, like Carl ain't really sure what he's doing. So he's going to hover over you, and we call those what do we call them? Oh, yeah, because they don't really know what they're doing. So to prove themselves, they're gonna hover, okay? And I'm speaking about myself. I'm a colonel in the United States Army. I can speak about myself. Y'all some holy folks. You do what you do. Yeah, no, by far, by far. Ugh. So we micromanage. And we micromanage because we don't know insecurities. But when we step back and we allow the creativity of Marjorie and James to come through, we're shocked at what comes forward. We didn't even know we needed that, but that's what we want. So I encourage you guys, even here within the ministry, don't. I always tell you guys this. Bishop is called to preach and teach. He doesn't have the monopoly on discernment. He doesn't have the monopoly on taking care of plants. If it was left to him, they'd be all dead. Okay? He doesn't have the monopoly on decorating. Right, Rita? For sure. Because everything would look just right dressed. Okay? And it would probably be in 2 colors. So guys, understand this. We laugh and we chuckle, but wait till it comes to you that has to be that person to delegate all that authority, because with that, and we're going to go through it, comes that authority to be able to act. So as a servant, understand what's involved here. You have to come up. You have to step up. You have to put yourself empathetic. Have empathy towards those whom you're ministering to. Hey, we're just talking about Christian life here. Guess what? This applies across the spectrum. This applies to just about anything you're doing that involves your interaction with other people. It does. How many of us have tried, been in a position of authority, and we tried to rule with our iron fists and threaten and intimidate everyone? I was a dad once to teenagers. I did that. But not, y'all some holy folks. You don't do those. I did it. Because I did that for fear of me not going upside their heads. And I figured I didn't really want to hit them. I just needed them to understand. But Lord, yo creo que yo tengo que hablar español porque ellos no entienden inglés. I thought I needed to speak Spanish because they were not understanding me in English. So I say that to say, as leaders, we have to do this. Spirit-filled, that we may lay hands on them. When we talk about laying hands, that means Pastor Ledbetter looks at me as a credible individual, believes that I'm filled by the Spirit of God to be able to lead and to minister to others. Now, if he is not filled by the Spirit, but has got some other stuff in him, and he does that with me, oh, by the way, that doesn't let you off. You're still bound by the responsibility to do as such. You are still bound by it. Don't get it twisted. Because you know why? If God, and I've said this many times in these sessions, if God didn't call you to do it, in today's walk the other way. Don't come up here trying to do your own thing. If God didn't call you, I'm not sorry. I'm telling you right now. You just saw what happened to Ahaziah. God called him to do one thing, but he gonna go hang out with Mac and trying to be Farmer Joe over there and hide himself as a farmer. And then God sends whomever to deal with the wrath on Mac. And me just happened to be there trying to be something that I'm not called to be, where I should not be, out of place, out of time, out of God's will, as a servant. Bad place to be, because you end up dying. Bad place. Nah, but don't worry, guys. James was the minister that went to the club that tried to save them in there. He was that guy. He was that guy. And oh, by the way, the drive-by happened. Ooh, and he got popped. Ooh. So the Sierra Times, the Vista Times, pastor gets shot in a club shootout. I wonder what he was doing there. These are the things we do to ourselves, guys. And call ourselves leaders, servants. Don't get me wrong. All have fallen short of the grace of God. Every one of us. And the one who hasn't, you can just get up and walk out now, because heaven's right in the parking lot waiting on you. Just get up and leave. Because all of us have. But the problem is we don't stay down. We don't stay there. We don't. So I say that to say, man and woman in whom the spirit of leadership exists, that you may anoint them as called of God. And so that, for us, is a period of discernment too, because you need to get to know the person, right, Mac? You need to get to know the person so that when, should I get hit in a drive-by, they would know who I am. And my obituary doesn't have to be read by somebody who's disgruntled, or written, by somebody who's disgruntled with me and then read by everyone else. No. So as servants, understand what that is. Hey, have any of us, maybe the ladies more so than us hardhead guys, but have any of us thrown like a dinner party, and we are the hosts? It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I wish Pastor Canales was here, because she loves to, she can do that. She can just make food look good. Whether it's good or not, it just looks like you want to eat it. You know, it's presentable. And she goes to that perspective where when she serves you, or when you're being served there in her presence in that capacity, you feel like this is a servant of God taking care of you. It really feels that way. And I say that to say, sometimes that's the extreme, but sometimes that's an attitude we need to have in everything we do. And Colossians says, in anything you do, work as though you're doing it for whom? That's right. And not for yourself. Because, Carl, if I'm doing it for myself, I ain't going to cook the carrots all the way through. That's not my cup of tea. I'm definitely ain't going to put any salt in it and just fill it up with butter. But if I'm doing it for somebody else, as a servant, of course, I take time in it. And then you give someone, as she was talking, as she was reading the passage, give them authority so that the whole community will obey them. Trusted and receive a blessing. You have to give them authority if you're going to give them responsibility. A lot of the times in shared leadership, that micro guy, Carl, that micro guy, He wants to give you responsibilities. He wants to task you, but with no authority. And then the minute you make a mistake, hold on, Jack, what are you talking about? No. No. There's a reason why you have to give me authority. Because I have to have the leeway to be able to do what I need to do. And if you don't want to give me the authority, well, then you do it yourself. I'm here doing this. I get to do this for 4 months. If Bishop doesn't give me the authority, guess who's going to be doing it? That's right. There's no doubt in my mind, because I won't be here just doing for the sake of doing. It's shared leadership. And I'm giving you all good examples as well as bad examples. You choose for yourself which one you'll be. Choose for yourself. We've all been in these situations. We can all apply these things to our lives, to the situations at hand. So with that said, we continue in serving the Lord, right? And read Joshua 24 and 15 for me, please.
Hello? Okay. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord.
Hey, Branch, think about this, and I'm going to come back to you. Think about some of the generational gods we have worshiped. Your parents, your grandparents, that didn't line up with the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Think about that, and I'll come back to you. I mean, some of them are very obvious. I ain't coming to church on Sunday, Jamar, because I got to wash the car. We've all been there. So, the blessing that we receive from God, we're going to worship versus whom has blessed us. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, my question is, who and what are you serving? Who and what are you serving? If it's that undesirable, hey, and this is where I'm going to talk to you, church people, because sometimes it's undesirable to you to serve. This is where I'm going to talk to you, church people, because sometimes it's undesirable. You don't feel like coming in here. Man, I want to be around that church, dude. You come in here, you don't come in here with a degree of encouragement. You don't come in here with the word in your heart already. You come in here with an expectation to take. Is that a servant? No, it is not. So if your expectation is to come here and to take, who and what are we serving? And who are you willing to serve for that matter? If you ask me, it sounds like you're serving yourself. If you ask me, there's another spirit in there. Maybe Kubasier. Whoever that one is. Whoever that may be. Who knows? Maybe our wives got to us. She riled us up. No, we allowed what she said or did to rile us up. And then we come in here riled up, and we can't even receive. We can't even receive. We can't even receive if we were given anything. Oh, and by the way, We didn't come in with the spirit to serve. We didn't. Because from us, it's just undesirable. We're not getting that feeling. Oh, by the way, and for those of us where everything is a significant emotional event, Alice, and we got to feel everything. Well, you know, undesirable might be every week. That might be every week. That might be a weekly occurrence. And what does that do for us? What does that do to the people you're ministering to? What does that, even better, Kevin, how is that reflective of you to Tish, to Marjorie, to James, when they see your demeanor, when they see your countenance, and you are pastor? This is what we do to ourselves. This is how we fracture and fragment our ministries. But Moses was instructed how to get this thing right. You need to lay hands on that person, make sure that person is spirit-filled. Worse, share your authority with them and trust them, entrust in them to be able to do that which you have or ask of them to do. Who are we? Are we prepared to do that? When our kids were younger, we controlled them, man. Some of them, what do you call that thing? Where you put there and you can't move your head? I forgot the term. The yoke. That's it. You put a yoke on them. And you control them really tight, close. But then when they're older, I don't care how much you try, you don't have that authority. You don't have. And oh, by the way, rather than teaching them to be good servants, you really taught them to be a good slave because they were yoked. So sometimes let's be mindful of how we treat people, why we treat people in ministry, and forget ministry. You're coming to church with them every Sunday. You come to Bible studies every Tuesday. And you might make it to corporate prayer because that might be undesirable for you. Guys, as you guys know, when I started this back in 2019, I told you guys when I was doing this, what I say here is not made to make you comfortable. If you're here to get comfortable, go sit and chat with Bishop. He'll counsel you. That's the counselor right there. I'm not the one. If you are not uncomfortable with me saying these things, something's wrong with you. Because it should be making you think. And you should be getting upset with me because you should be asking yourself, why am I saying these things? I'm saying these things because these have implications. These points have implications in our lives. And so I'm not speaking out or calling out any one person. But the intent here is for us to examine ourselves in our perspective, and our perspective, that is, on what is to be a true servant and how we should serve. Okay, but as for me and my household, we're going to serve the Lord. So, Branch, think about them gods. Before you talk. So my grandfather owned a bar, right? My father started drinking at 13. I started drinking at 17. You see where I'm going with this? See the God that I was serving? Okay? So I stopped drinking. Well, I had to confront two of my kids. Because he started knowing what Dad was doing. Mind you, by the time they came around, Dad had already stopped drinking. But we were dealing with what? gods, the spirit, the whatever. You open that chasm, you have no idea what's going to come out of it. You can say what you want and believe what's going to come out, but you don't control that. None of us do. Shut it down. Shut it down while you can. Repent of it. Turn away from it. Do away with it. If not, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen. You'll deal with the Lord on that on your own. So go ahead, Brent. Tell us some more of them gods that we serve.
Testing, 1, 2. Okay, when you talk about it like that, I guess domestic abuse.
Oh, yes. That's a huge one.
Alcoholism, womanizing.
It's another spirit.
Lying.
Don't forget cheating.
You know, all that. And that was from, a lot of that was just my dad. My mama.
She's an angel, right?
She was a good, yeah. From what she was dealing with my dad, I mean, she tried her best, I guess. My grandmother, alcoholic.
Does anyone in here do not understand when we talk about the gods that we serve? Does anyone in here does not understand that concept? It's very real. The gods of the Amorites, they were sacrificing this, doing that. Oh, we got voodoo, Santeria. We still have it going on. To the Obia. We still have it. Y'all still go to the, one of them said, my grandma used to go to the person to read your palm. My mom did it. Which doctor? Yeah. My mom did. I do it. And I take little Junebug. I take little Junebug to get his palm read. So we seem to think of this abstractly as something that doesn't exist because it was the Amorites. Well, let me bring something back to us, okay? How about some of us learning to eat bad all our lives because Grandpa ate bad? Listen to me. If I ate like my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents ate, dear Lord. Let me tell you something. My uncle told me this story about my grandfather. So in the islands, there's something called kalaloo. It's a poor man's food. So it's wild bushes, and you would take scrap meat. You throw it in there, boil it up. It's like gumbo for the guys down in the bayous, because that was a poor man's meal. Scrapple, yeah, kind of like. So kalaloo in the islands was kind of the same way. And my uncle said to me, he says, Mike, your grandfather would drive from one end of the island to the other end, put all that stuff in a pot, and have a cold pot, which was just a cast iron pot with charcoal in it, lit. And from one end of the island to the next end, he would have that stuff cooked so that when he stopped, he ate. And here's what was in there: pig feet, pig snout, man, everything that a pig that he couldn't sell was in that pot, cooked. When he rolled up, it smelled an aroma out of this world, but by golly, it was death in a bowl. And some of us continued on to live and to do that. You know what's another big one? The gods of the Amorites, how we lived? Smoking. smoking. A lot of us saw smoking growing up. It was a cool thing. Remember the Winston dude and the Salem guy? Yeah, the Camel dude. It was Winston, Camel, Salem, Marlboro. It was those guys. Cools, don't forget Cools. And a lot of us inherited. Yeah, oh yeah, the candy cigarettes. Palm yes, those are still around. But guys, understand this. Understand the principle. That was open to us. Those were things that our families, our ancestors, at times literally worshipped them. And now here we are in 2024, some of us still looking that way. Still looking that way. Now, okay, guys, it's time to stop. It really is. Go ahead, Michelle. And guys, I'll let you interject. I'll pause now after number 3, and then we'll take comments. Go ahead.
Codependency is a big one too.
Oh,
Yes.
gosh. Well, Kevin said, Branch said domestic abuse. Kevin said sexual abuse. Very much so. Very, very much so. And it's you won't consider it a God, but what you didn't understand was, like my friend Laverne would say from Mississippi, Mike, stay away from them hitchhiker spirits. Hitchhiker spirits. Because it's coming. You go down that road, it's coming. It's going to jump on you and keep moving. And sometimes we innocently open ourselves to these things. And then sometimes they're there when we're trying to fight through them and trying to figure out, why can't we shake this? Sometimes it takes some serious repentance on our part, some serious prayer, some serious consideration. Bishop and I always have these conversations about hurt people, and how you could go back generations of either parents abusing children or whatever the adult person in authority was always the abuser. And we learned from that, and we honor that because we keep practicing that behavior. We keep going down that road, knowing it's forbidden, knowing it does not edify God, knowing that, but yet we do it, unfortunately. As a servant, you gotta know what's that country singer, Kenny Rogers? Gotta know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And we ain't talking about gambling. Because if we're talking about gambling, then we're doing a Hazael. We're gambling with our lives. That's not what we're talking about. But what we're talking about is, that's my phone on the other side. Yeah, I got the conga drums. So I share that to say that let's understand when it comes to this, who will we serve? Who and why will we serve? So I can't tell you at this point in your life who you ought to be serving. But that's on you. But I think by now, you've been in church a day, you should know. So, not only who are we serving, but then what's our commitment? Are we truly willing? Is there a willingness in our heart? Why are we serving? Okay? Read me 1 Peter 4, 7 through 11 there.
Okay. The end and culmination of all things is near. Therefore, be sound-minded and self-controlled for the purpose of prayer, staying balanced and focused on the things of God so that your communication will be clear, reasonable, specific, and pleasing to Him. Above all, have fervent and unfailing love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. It overlooks unkindness and unselfishly seeks the best for others. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. Just as each of you has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of God's multifaceted grace. Whoever speaks to the congregation is to do as one who speaks the oracles of God. Whoever serves the congregation is to do as one who serves by the strength which God abundantly supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever.
Read that just a little piece about God, sir. The serve piece.
So, whoever serves the congregation is to do so as one who serves by the strength which God...
By the strength which God, not what Branch gave me, not what James gave me, not what Eduardo gave me. God. Thanks for the encouragement, but the strength is from God. Keep going.
Supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever.
In all things. That's the key. In all things, not in some things. So guys, as a servant, you don't get to turn it off. Sorry, you don't, Mac. Can't turn it off. So when we're feeling, and we want to, I pull that one out. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Yes. Right, Octavia? We don't grumble. We ain't grumbling. We ain't grumbling. You're going to offer hospitality without, because, listen, Octavia throws down when it comes to eating, cooking there. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Here's the problem, guys. I see her coming in. I see her grumbling. Guess what does to my mind? Man, I ain't eating from that woman. I'm not eating from that woman. I have no idea what's in her heart. If she's going to come in here grumbling and she's presenting, this is hospitality presented. I'm telling you guys, this is the kinetic piece. This is what doesn't sit well with us, but we need to get this. It doesn't sit well with us, but we need to get this. Listen, this doesn't extend to just leaders. This extends to Christians, period. How much church hurt have we done? In that passage it said, so God can receive all the glory. None for Mike, none for Kathy, none for Cora back there. None. It's all for God. And so many times we get this twisted because, what was that word I used there? Because it was undesirable for us today to do it. In English, that translates, I don't feel like doing it. So understand this, as a servant, you don't feel like doing it, Everett, but imagine this, you're doing it, and I'm looking at you doing it half-tailed, and I'm wondering, what's up with this guy? Really? Oh, by the way, here's the other thing. My servant there, where he's doing stuff that's undesirable, Jamar, that does not reflect on us. Ah, it does. Because we sit here and we tolerate it. So Marjorie comes in and she sees that. Marjorie. Oh, that's how they do it in here. Oh, that's how they do it over there. Stop, guys. Stop. Stop. We're doing more harm. That passage was very, very clear. We're doing more harm than we are doing good. And as servants of the Most High, it is God that gives you the strength to do it. And it's God that receives the glory. So Alice, if you see Mike trying to glorify himself in it, just break my leg. Just put me down. Because it's not right, it's not true. No. Let's stop it. Let's do this. We need to understand this clearly. Too many times we question what should be said and what should be done. Okay? And in doing so, we do it for all the wrong reasons. Because the servant heart, God deals with us with these issues of the heart. And the servant heart, because sometimes it's undesirable. Sometimes we want to do what we want to do, Eduardo, and don't really line up. So in doing so, come on in, man. Come on in. You're not lost. Come on in. And then the other part is this. Each of you, whatever gift you have, are you using it for the uplifting of the kingdom of God? That God may receive the glory, the honor, and the praise. Because you know what? In the end, Krista, I face the judgment seat just like you. I don't answer for you. I don't answer for you. So just go ahead. And what God has empowered you with, you go ahead and sit down on it and see what happens. See what occurs. And understand how miserable your life will be. And you will go 10, 15 years trying to figure out, why am I so unsettled in my spirit? Because God didn't give you a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. And the sound mind should tell you, this is the gift God has blessed you with. This is what you need to be doing with it. I tell you, the bishop is an anointed man, but he can't make that decision for you. Don't expect the bishop to do it for you. Do not. Okay? Each of us is granted a measure of faith, as well as that douse of the Holy Spirit in us. Do according to what God has planned for us. And a lot of us sit down in here warming these chairs like they need to be warmed. No. But, you know, there's some of us who walk through life. And here's the thing. We talk about being faithful stewards. And that's using the gift accordingly. Let me tell you something. See, y'all don't really know this. If you think, Alice, you're going to sit down on a gift that God gave you, and you're going to be a good steward of the money he gives you, I got something to tell you. I have something to tell you. You are very, very wrong. I'm sorry, I had to tell you my sin in Spanish. You are so wrong if you think you can do that. If you think you can all of a sudden be a steward here and everything God is telling you is prevalent before your eyes, and you're wondering why misery runs behind you. Think again. I told you guys when we started this, if you don't have the servant heart, I think you need to rethink your place and pray and ask God to discern what he would have for you to do. And it's okay if he tells you where Rita is sitting, that that's your place, because some of us need to be sat down and need to be taught for better understanding. Some of us do. But nah, man, y'all some holy folks. It only happened to me. It's only happened to me. So I say this to say, faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Various. That means all the different versions and variations thereof. I just mentioned David with cooking. Y'all, some of good woo, singers. I'm the best guy in the shower. Don't get me up here. Okay? Don't get me up here. I'll check this whole church out of here like, poof. But in the shower, man, I sound like Luther. I sound like Luther in the shower. But I say this, guys. I say tongue in cheek. But in its various forms, a lot of us have gifts. A lot of us are talented. Look at those guys back there with the electronic stuff. You know, that's geek world to me. I'm not even trying to go there. I push the switch if it doesn't come on. I plug it in, I plug it out if it don't come on. Hey, call the tech. No, call the tech. Let's figure that out. Call the tech. But ask me to assess and analyze any process, any problem, to find difficulties, to understand efficiencies. That's how this mind is made to function. So that's what I do. But don't ask me about, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. I just don't. It's various, and this is key, guys, in all of its various forms. Doran is a man that's great with all this stuff here, the maintenance and all this other good stuff. God has blessed him well. God has gifted him. What is he going to do with his gift? Man, I'm going to go find me some other spirits, Jack, and do what I do best, cohort with them. Oh, by the way, and all the earnings I get, going to bring even more spirits in. That's just one example. There's so many. Some of us are singing, I said singing. Some of us are gifted with other things in other areas. And God has blessed us with them. He's granted us strength to enable us to be able to do these things, and we sit on them. Some of us have strong intellectual prowess, but we're lazy. And we don't want to do what God is calling us to do. Excuse me. Intellectually, we are astute, but we'd rather run around playing ignorant. You notice I didn't say stupid. You're playing ignorant because it's a lack of knowledge. Stupidity is having the knowledge and choosing not to do right with it. So I say that to say God has blessed us. Here's the ministry. Here we are as Christians, and we will not walk as servants of the living God. Questions? Okay, we're going to keep moving. So then how do we serve? What are our intentions, our actions? What are our intentions? Romans 12 and 11. Did I give that to somebody? Go ahead.
It said, not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord.
Right. It doesn't get any clearer than that. It doesn't get any clearer than that. You're not lacking in spirit. Keep your spiritual fervor. What does that mean in English, Roseanne? Keeping your spiritual fervor. Talk to me. What does that mean in English?
Not getting weary, not letting it overwhelm you or overtake you, but do it in a manner that's pleasing to God.
And where do you get the spiritual fervor from? We talked about last. Huh? Where do we get the spiritual fervor from?
No.
Of course. So it takes a level of submission on our side. It takes a level of openness on our side, on our part, to have the spiritual fervor of God. But too many times, man, I'm the man. I got this. I'm the man. I could do this. I don't need that. In all things, acknowledge him that he may direct your efforts, your path, in all things. as simple as it is. Listen, all day long, praying, God, use me. That one person in here with this message, God, use me in such a way that I will impart something that is said here that will change not just the countenance of the person, but that inner person, that spirit. That's my prayer all day here doing this. Imagine, and I've taught this before, about 5 years ago, 4.5 to be exact. I taught this before. I refined it, and I'm applying it today. And it's like brand new to me when I put it together. But I say that to say, the gifts that God has blessed us with, it's not for our own edification. Remember, I was sharing with you Ahaziah, the bad and the good versus the economy of God and versus the economy of a king that didn't want to serve his people. So let's be careful on who we look at as our leaders and look at what they're willing to serve and who they're willing to serve when we go out there and call them and embrace them as our leaders. I'm not getting into politics, but that's something in our here and now, our day and age, that we need to be very cognizant about. Very, very cognizant about. And if we don't, then we the Ahaziahs of this world, where our community struggles and suffers. We lose our king because of our own obstinate ways. We end up going places where we ought not to be. Then we're eliminated. And oh, by the way, Marjorie, not only are we eliminated the lineage, the ability for anyone else to serve. So now that stranger has to come in and be appointed to shared leadership, and we have to start all over again. And there's times when your son ought not to be in charge and take over the ministry. There's times when that should not happen. We've seen a couple of them that have really imploded and was scandalous on TV. I think one of the big one was Frederick Price with his son, when his son took over and then the church split with the guy Hilliard, the Bishop Hilliard, and they went in separate churches and all that. And sometimes in being servants, that's just public information. And then the scandal that occurred with the guy's son on the pulpit, and he had to be sat down. But I'm not here to give you the melee. If you want to know that, you Google it and figure out what happened there. But it happens. It happens. And it happens because as a true servant, we're not into this for our own self-gratification. We're into this for souls, because that's the key here. We're into this to encourage, to build up, and to serve and use the gifts that God has blessed us with for all the intended purpose. So when we serve, let's check our intentions and our actions. Make sure they're genuine. Make sure that we do not lose our spiritual fervor, meaning we do not lose that ability to continuously have the presence, the purpose of God, the will of God before us in everything that we do. In everything that we do. And selfless. This is the part that it gets everybody. We're called to be selfless. Now, Josh, talk to me. How do we do that? Just an example of being selfless.
Putting someone's needs before your own.
Well, the scripture did say that. Putting someone's need. Hey, Dimitri, Mark 10 and 4-5.
For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
As a ransom for many. He didn't come to be served, but to serve. So for those of us that are ambassadors of Christ, as we all should be, I mean, is that imperative clear enough? Yes, it is. Y si necesitamos que nosotros lo decimos en español, el obispo está aquí. Podemos decirle. We can say it in Spanish if it needs to be. Okay? But that imperative is very, very clear. And too many times, I think that's the one, Derwin, that gets us stuck. Because the world tells us, man, get yours, man. Get yours. Forget about them. Forget about give them who? What? I was giving Bishop a joke one time. The Lord put on my heart to pay somebody's bill for them. And I was kind of hesitant to go tell him, hey, God told me to pay this bill for you, Everett. And I was like, Aliceville, I eventually did, only to find out the bill was over $1,000. I was like, boy, did I have those conversations? Lord, was that really me, or was it you, or was it just me? Was it me just being overzealous here? Man, I came up with it all. I mean, you can think about it. I asked the Lord, confirm it to me, show me. I was asking for all kinds of signs. Okay? I just saw, I kept coming back to it. I just got one. Obedience is better than what? There you go. So I had to be obedient with my sacrifice unto the Lord. And guys, it was hard. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it. But as a servant, when you're obedient to the working, the prompting of the Spirit of God, that spirit of fervor, as you do what you do for the Lord, these things will happen to you. Josh mentioned, put others' needs before yours. Man, over $1,000, that ain't a need right there. That's a bill, Jack. That's a bill. That's not a need. Oh, no. I didn't want any part of that. Lord, help me to discern something else. I mean, I was trying to rationalize everything we got on that one. But guys, of course, let me tell you something. I ain't trying to be in opposition to God. I'm not. I did it. I was extremely obedient after my hesitation. But y'all holy people, y'all don't have these emotions. So a guy like me, I struggled with it because I was like, Lord, why would you put a burden like that on me? Lord, look at me like, a burden? Dude, really? Exactly. It's exactly what it was, Derwin. You got it. What are you talking about, a burden? Shut up. It's exactly what it was. And like the bishop said, I kept trying to get another answer. I kept coming back to that one. Just kept coming back. But are we going to be obedient as servants of God to the will of God concerning us? Concerning those whom He allow us the privilege to minister to? Are we going to be those individuals who will be obedient, or are we going to be the disobedient ones and almost lose our lives? In Isaiah's situation, he lost his life, not wanting to serve his people, because wanting to barter with other kings because they were cool. Well, we do the same thing. We do the same exact. You know what? Man, Michelle's a better planner than me. You know what? Krista ain't gonna do it. You know, can you help me do this? And what? Hey. That's not my calling. That was yours. Why are you not doing it? Why are you bringing this to me? Of course. And some of us do have that mentality, unfortunately. But here's the deal. When God has called us, and you've been appointed in a place to be a servant of God, how is it we're going to renege on that? And why would we? And like God showed me, why would you put a burden of such on me trying to get holy? Why would you put a burden like that on me? God, because you got it. And I know you're able, so do it. So when these things come your way, being selfless is just not a matter of with your funds. It's your time, your talents, your treasures, all these gifts. Some of us need to be a lot more selfless about the gifts that we have. The Lord knows why he didn't give me a gift to sing. Because I'd be around here, I'd be out here just, I would just be here just doing what I thought I could do. But that's not my gift. That's not my gift. And am I being judicious with what God has given me? Yeah, because I could be back east making some serious plans to do some serious things with some serious money. But no, I chose this. I chose this. So I share with you guys, as a servant leader, let's examine our hearts, our minds, our ways. And if there be any wicked way about us, when it comes to that, let's repent of it. Let's bring it before the Lord. And let's get in right standing with God concerning his will, his plan, his purpose for us. And that's not a leader, that's just a Christian person following the precepts of Christ. God, and we've read all the scriptures that have supported these efforts, have supported those notions, have supported those principles. So my question to you today, can you be selfless? Will you be a good steward of the gift that God has blessed you with? And are you willing to be obedient to when God has called you to be a servant? Are you willing to be obedient? You don't have to answer me any of those, but that's your charge. Evaluate and examine them. Comments, questions? Bishop, it's 8:23. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say it's not this one is not an easy one. It's not a comfortable one, but it's definitely an applicable one. And if nothing else said before I turn it over to Bishop, I wanted to share with you guys. So as I do these, as we put together these leadership attributes, qualities, characteristics, and explore Scripture on how they apply to our lives every day. If there's something that bugs you from the leadership principle, any one of them, just bring it to me and I'll try to research them. Any of them that really has been problematic. I know we've talked about restraint. I think that was a big one because learning to deal with difficult people and restraining yourself, that was by far one of the most difficult ones. But if there's any other of these topics or these areas that you want us to cover, just either tell me, tell the bishop, tell any one of us, and get the information to me, and I'll be glad to explore with all the literature I have here on doing this, okay? All right, Bishop, we're done.
Not waiting for me, are they? Yep. Can y'all believe that? Give the preacher a round of applause. The preacher went over an hour, this will go over an hour, about 35 or something like that. I was gonna ask him for a few minutes, but he gave it to me. How y'all doing tonight? I get you another stocking cap because that church is no longer in existence. I told you this. Right here. Security. Come on, security. You're right, you did pay for it. I was gonna give you another. But I wanted to do this quickly as I could. So if you got a message to preach tonight, is not the night to preach. Okay. We always do an after action review. Okay. So I want to see if anybody had any questions, comments, or anything that happened Sunday. But just before I did that, I think I owe a few people an apology. Because when I had okay, Kathy, I'm gonna call your name out. I owe a few young people an apology. And when I had the mic, I made a statement like, "Come on down, let me pray for you." And then somebody like, "Well, Bishop, you didn't pray for me." They thought it was kind of like a bait and switch. So I apologize for that. If you was thinking, Bishop gonna lay hands on me, that's okay. He's my pastor, and you didn't know their style of how they pray and stuff. So if it seemed like I set you up when I called you down, anybody that was in here on Sunday, I apologize. That was not my intent. One thing for sure, anything I know about you, I ain't share with the two pastors at all. Okay? The only person authorized to tell your story is who, Brent? They run it from therapy because they used to be therapists. One of them decided to go TDY to another country, and she decided to go and teach kids in middle school. That's as dangerous as it gets. I would rather be a therapist. But I want to apologize to you, okay? But at the same time, any comments about what happened Sunday? There was a lot in church. Hey,